Georgie and Mandy's first marriage highlights Georgie's The Big Bang Theory Sheldon Grudge. When young Sheldon first introduced Georgie Cooper's whirlwind romance with Mandy M.C. Allister, it initially seemed like another colorful subplot in the prequel's tapestry of Coopers. But the show's slow burn approach to their relationship, culminating in marriage, has become one of its most compelling storylines. More than just an exploration of young love, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage also provides a mirror for the simmering resentment Georgie will one day harbor toward Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory. Their wedding isn't just a sweet milestone, it's an inflection point for understanding how Georgie's sense of duty, sacrifice, and lost youth eventually fuel his adult bitterness toward his little brother. The road to marriage, an unlikely beginning. When Georgie first met Mandy, the relationship carried a secret. He lied about his age, presenting himself as older and more mature. This deception, though not malicious in intention, set the tone for a relationship defined by imbalance and hard lessons. Mandy, older and already navigating adult responsibilities, was skeptical of Georgie's charm. But young Sheldon cleverly used this setup to foreshadow a dynamic that would later echo Georgie's family life, where he consistently had to grow up faster than he wanted. By the time Mandy became pregnant, Georgie's carefree teenage years were over. Young Sheldon depicts him working multiple jobs, desperately trying to provide for Mandy and their child. His devotion is both admirable and heartbreaking. This period in his life highlights the self-sacrifice and prematurely assumed responsibilities that will later contrast so sharply with Sheldon's relatively cushioned and indulgent youth. It's the first hint that Georgie's grudges in The Big Bang Theory aren't just about sibling rivalry, they're about a pattern of being the forgotten child. The wedding, a bittersweet milestone. Their first marriage is not portrayed as a grand fairy tale wedding. Instead, it's understated, practical, and tinged with melancholy. Georgie isn't just marrying Mandy because of love, he's marrying her to do the right thing. That sense of obligation is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it cements Georgie's loyalty and maturity. On the other, it signals the loss of his freedom and youth. This bittersweet tone contrasts starkly with how Sheldon is treated at the same stage of life. While Georgie is juggling multiple responsibilities and rushing into adulthood, Sheldon remains the adored prodigy, supported and encouraged to pursue his education without distraction. In marrying Mandy, Georgie effectively steps into the role of a provider while his brother remains in the role of the family's golden child. The wedding thus becomes a symbolic event that sharpens Georgie's future grudge. He's sacrificing, while Sheldon is thriving, a window into Georgie's resentment. In The Big Bang Theory, adult Georgie, played by Jerry O'Connell, is introduced as a successful businessman who still harbors resentment toward Sheldon. Their reunion scenes bristle with unspoken history. Georgie accuses Sheldon of leaving him behind to clean up the mess after their father's death, while Sheldon seems oblivious to his brother's pain. Young Sheldon is now filling in those blanks, and Georgie's first marriage to Mandy is a key puzzle piece. The wedding underscores several factors behind Georgie's resentment. Responsibility versus freedom. Georgie takes on adult burdens far earlier than Sheldon ever does, and unlike Sheldon, he doesn't get applause for it. Recognition versus invisibility. While Sheldon is celebrated for his genius, Georgie sacrifices, working long hours, giving up teenage milestones, marrying young, go largely unnoticed by his family. Stability versus chaos. Georgie's attempt to build a family contrasts with Sheldon's ability to remain focused on his academic dreams. Even as Georgie tries to create stability, his life feels chaotic. Each of these elements comes to a head during the marriage storyline, making it easy to see how resentment begins to simmer. Mandy as a mirror of the Cooper household. Mandy herself plays an important role in illuminating Georgie's grudge. She's not just a love interest. She's also a character who challenges and complicates Georgie's assumptions. Her initial reluctance to marry him reflects a tension that Georgie knows all too well from home. People may care about him, but they don't always believe in him. Mandy eventually warms to the idea of building a life together, but their path is full of misunderstandings, money struggles, and uneven expectations. This dynamic mirrors the Cooper household, where Georgie frequently feels like the afterthought compared to Sheldon's needs. Mandy's occasional doubts about Georgie's ability to provide echo Mary Cooper's doubts about Georgie's future prospects. In both cases, Georgie is treated as though his best efforts might not be enough, a sentiment that adds another layer to his eventual resentment. The shadow of George S.R.'s death. The timing of Georgie and Mandy's marriage also intersects with another looming event. The impending death of George Sr. Young Sheldon has been slowly approaching this canon milestone, which will profoundly shape all the Coopers. For Georgie, already shouldering adult responsibilities, his father's death will likely compound his burdens. He will not only have to provide for his own family, but also step up as a surrogate father figure to Missy and even to Mary. This is where the seeds of adult Georgie's anger in The Big Bang Theory are most clearly planted. While Sheldon leaves for college and later builds a life on the West Coast, Georgie is left behind to hold the family together. The marriage to Mandy isn't just a personal milestone. It's the start of a chain of events that will cement Georgie as the other Cooper, the one who sacrifices quietly while his brother achieves loudly. Contrasting arcs, from sacrifice to success. One of the ironies of Georgie's storyline is that his sacrifices do eventually pay off, just not in the way viewers might expect. By the time of The Big Bang Theory, Georgie is the owner of a chain of tire stores and has achieved financial success. However, this success is hard-won and laced with bitterness. Unlike Sheldon's academic achievements, which are publicly celebrated and institutionally rewarded, Georgie's accomplishments feel solitary and unacknowledged. His marriage to Mandy is the beginning of this path. It teaches him resilience, work ethic, and entrepreneurship, but it also teaches him how isolating sacrifice can be. When he and Sheldon reunite as adults, the resentment isn't just about what Georgie lost. It's about the lack of recognition for the costs he bore. The first marriage storyline thus becomes a narrative bridge between teenage Georgie's sacrifices and adult Georgie's simmering grudge. How young Sheldon enriches the Big Bang Theory canon. By showing Georgie and Mandy's first marriage in such detail, young Sheldon does more than provide backstory. It retroactively enriches the Big Bang Theory. When viewers rewatch Georgie and Sheldon's tense reunion scenes, they now carry extra weight. We can see the wedding photos in our mind's eye. We can imagine Georgie working double shifts while Sheldon thrives at Caltech. The bitterness is no longer an abstract sibling rivalry. It's a consequence of very real sacrifices. This approach also humanizes Georgie. In The Big Bang Theory, he was a minor character used mainly for comedic tension. In young Sheldon, he's fully realized, a young man trying to do the right thing, even when life gives him the short end of the stick. His marriage to Mandy is a poignant example of that. The inevitable cracks, foreshadowing the future. Of course, fans know from The Big Bang Theory that Georgie's early marriage won't last. This inevitability casts a shadow over the wedding episodes, lending them a tragic edge. Even as Georgie and Mandy exchange vows, there's a sense of foreboding. Their relationship began under stress and will likely end under stress. For Georgie, the breakdown of this marriage will be another reminder of what he's lost by growing up too soon. This impending heartbreak also ties into his resentment of Sheldon. If Georgie's sacrifices had led to a perfect, stable family, perhaps he would feel differently about his brother. But because those sacrifices instead lead to more hardship, his